I have spent more than 10,000 hours in the gym, and now I have seen it all. All the mistakes people make, all the successes, what works, but mainly what doesn't. More than 80% of the people never make it in the gym, not even after 6 years. They fall into this never-ending mistake cycle, or multiple of those, and they never seem to escape. In an ideal world, your progression should be a forever progressing line, and you should never hit a plateau. Yet it plateaus. For some, their gains terminate early on, and for others, it's right after the newbie gains. I want to touch on all the mistakes I made, seen, so you never have to experience it, because you have the potential to fit in the top 10% physique, and all you are missing is the blueprint. And the first one is exercise redundancy. It means that you're doing exercises that change the same muscle the same way. For example, if you do a barbell bench press followed by a dumbbell bench press followed by a dumbbell fly, you're training the same muscle, so you are wasting 2 exercises and you are overkilling the muscle, if you are overkilling it. Like standing biceps curl into a dumbbell seated biceps curl. It does the same thing. And the second one is special treatment for isolations. I learned everything from a military guy in the beginning of my journey, and he said that no exercise is special. And he was right. But I still see people saying, I do heavy on compounds and I do light on isolations. Why? Forget this. You should only focus on 2 things. Progress the exercises and push it to failure. And this concept doesn't differentiate between compounds and isolations. Supersets, they are not bad, but they are just time savers. You can still build muscle. You can still progress the exercises. But the only downside is if you are combining the same exercise. If I ask you, what's the first superset that comes to your mind? What is that? A barbell bench press into a dumbbell fly. Sounds familiar? Because that's what everybody is doing, and it does nothing. It's the same as exercise redundancy, just in a superset. So it's multiple of those mistakes. And this is the time when you could just bend the fly and go on full effort into your bench press, and you would see far better gains. I prefer antagonist supersets like back and chest, biceps and triceps. I tried the upper lower. I just didn't like it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work, just didn't like it. Progressive overload. As a beginner, everything works. But funny enough, when you start out, you have this drive that you want to be muscular, you want to be stronger, but as you become intermediate, it just burns out. And I consider people intermediate when they learn how to do all the exercises, the core exercises, with free weight and with machines, and not based on how much they are lifting. This is one of the main drivers of hypertrophy. If you forget it, you can forget about making gains. Mind-muscle connection. This creeped up on me so early on. The first muscle I learned to contract was my chest, because it looks cool. But what if I tell you that this thinking is just going backwards? This was my earliest downfall, more specifically on my arms. And then I searched for online, and everybody suggested that I'm just missing the connection. And then I tried, and oh boy, how wrong I was. But there was a big guy in the gym. I asked him, and he said that, forget it. Think about it. The guys who are advising you to have mind-muscle connection are the ones who can curl 24 kilograms. What do you think? What grew their arms? Working the way up to 24 kilograms or the mind-muscle connection? Because right now, when I was searching for this answer, I could barely curl 10 kilograms. So it wasn't the mind-muscle masturbation. It was the weight they could lift. But funny enough, if you have enough muscle, you can connect to them instantly, because you have that muscle. If you don't have that muscle as a beginner, they are always chasing feelings, they don't feel it. You can't feel what's not on your body. So it is okay if you don't stress this. The burn, the biggest leg gain killer. For leg exercises, I always went for the burn. Get as charged, they never grew. I never blamed my genetics, because I always had a good leg development. But this was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life. Burn is the opposite of good. Think about it as a hurdle stopping you from gaining muscle, because all it is doing is shutting down your sets early on. Splits. I improved on upper lower, push pull leg, full body, push pull leg, upper lower. Improved on all of them. But this is how I met some of my clients. They said that my split is not working. For some reason I'm not improving. But this is the problem. You are not going to improve on anything. What if you have a leg press on every split's first leg day? First exercise. If you can't improve on that, it's not the split. Think of your training split as something that fits your schedule and is more enjoyable for you to train. But within that, you have exercises to improve. So you can never blame the tool. only yourself. Free weights or nothing mentality. I used to believe that free weights were special, a superior form of lifting, and I was wrong. Your body doesn't care about the tools you are using. It is only experiencing tension, stimulus, and then responding to that. Free weights are often worse for building muscle than its more stable variation of the machines. And I grew to accept that. A squat is always going to be worse for your quads than a hack squat. Your goal is not to distribute the stimulus on your lower back, spine reactors, glutes, quads, but to pinpoint one, blast it with stimulus, hoping that it is going to grow. That being said, I still prefer dumbbell bench press over the machine chest press. It's preference. It's not better. I just prefer doing that. And that is okay. And the biggest gain killer is volume. People can't comprehend this component, and they often overcomplicate it. It doesn't matter what your favorite fitness influencer says. The only two drivers of hypertrophy, progressive overload and mechanical tension, that you can achieve by pushing your sets close to failure, and not volume. And this is where everybody loses their shit and say, oh, but volume that, volume this. Look, saying that 30 sets of 1 rep is the same as 1 set of 30 reps, it's going to produce the same amount of muscle. And how come that you can do 5 sets and grow absolutely nothing? In this case, how is volume growing muscle? Without progressive overload and mechanical tension, it is worthless. Do 1 to 3 sets close to failure or to failure and you are going to grow. And I also hear people saying, especially on Reddit, some of my clients, people in the gym, that oh, but I'm going to increase my recoverable volume. What the fuck is that? Like, I'm not even sure where this concept came from. And it's probably from a smarter guy who knows what he's talking about, and it is just taken out of context. But it is only volume you can recover from. I'm not even sure why you are trying to overcomplicate it. You can only increase your volume if you are not training hard. So do 1 to 3 sets to failure on harder exercises like hack squat, Bulgarian split squat. Just do 1 to 2 sets all the way to failure, and never count your warm-up sets, just your working sets. It's fine if you do 2 warm-up sets just to work your way up to that point, but you don't count that. I promise you, your gains are going to explode and you're not going to be paralyzed by the information that's out there. And these are the biggest mistakes I ever encountered and I made myself. And the problem is that it's not always just a few of these mistakes, it's always a combination of these mistakes that's going to limit you from gaining muscle. And that's why you hit a plateau. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Talk to you in the next one.